Last June, my father died of a heart attack in his sleep. He went to bed feeling fine, and he never woke up.
It being unexpected made it like a shock. Like at first when I heard, I didn't believe it. He was at the shop the day before he died, and I talked to him, and he was his same normal self. And I remember at 5:36 in the morning the next day, my dad was trying to call me, and he told me Uncle Paul died, and it was just a shock.
My last encounter with him is that we were happy. He was smiling at me. He says, "Eric, hey, we did great. I mean, great job, Eric." You know, he thanks me for everything that I do for him. And I only do that because, you know, I love the guy so much. You know, and I love my family here, and I want to make sure everybody does well. And the next thing, you know, I hear in the morning that he's gone.
In 1920, Axel Lindeblad worked on a number of different instruments, with the piano being one of the main instruments that he had worked on. And my grandfather, Ed Lindeblad, you know, being around it, was influenced, and you know, he was working on pianos. He actually went and also worked at Steinway, being a technician at their company, and then he left Steinway and moved out to New Jersey and opened up a restoration shop in Randolph, New Jersey, and that was actually part of the house that my dad and uncle grew up in. So it's kind of similar to my situation. And my earliest memories were when we actually had a showroom and part of my dad's workshop on pianos in our house. But growing up, I would see, you know, I'd come home from school and I'd actually see my dad on a daily basis working on pianos, and eventually it outgrew the house that where the showroom was and where the shop was, and about a couple miles away we actually opened up a storefront, which was a bigger showroom and a workshop.
No successful company just happens overnight. It comes from years, decades of a lot of hard work and sacrifice. You know, in those early years, our reputation is due in large part to the time that he put in. All the late nights, all the weekends.
Hi, Paul Lindeblad here. I'm standing in front of a Steinway Model M.
Paul is definitely the root and the foundation of everything here. His way that he worked, I guess his drive, I think has really rubbed off on everybody here. And especially since he passed, I think it's brought out the best in everybody. It's made everybody step up.
What I learned quickly in working for him was that he was about as honest and fair and upright as anybody I've ever met.
Working for Lindeblad School of Music and working for Paul and Todd and Sean, it was a blessing because every small steps they would celebrate with me. Every hardship, they're there for you. So I wasn't afraid to give my 100%.
Yeah, everyone loved Paul. I mean, Paul is the kind of guy that when he was talking to you, it wasn't like a business conversation. It was like he really wanted to know who you are, where you came from. So he's building these really close-knit relationships with people, even sometimes in the smallest little time that he spent with them, because he genuinely cared. That was just him as a person. That was, you know, what made Paul Paul. The ability to connect because he actually cared.
Paul also loved to sing. He wasn't shy. A few years ago, he performed with our faculty members, and he performed solo on Carnegie stage, and as a part of Lindeblad School of Music Carnegie Hall concert in New York City. And he also joined us at the Montclair State University with his family members, and he sang the song Thankful on stage. And when he sang from the bottom of his heart.
He was consistently dedicated to doing the best he could, and that translated into his work and also into how he lived his life on a personal level.
He was a man of faith, and whether you believe the same thing he did or not, whether you're religious or not, it's admirable and respectable that until the day he died, he believed what he did.
This is hung above my dad's door here in Dover, and it's one of his favorite verses from the Bible. And it says, "And what does the Lord require for you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." And so this was probably one of his favorite verses in the Bible, and hung above his door.
That was probably one of the things he would say almost every day. Thank God, that we have this. Thank God for my employees. Thank God for the customers we have. And he was always thankful.
He tried to live his life the best he could according to the Word of God. And this was what his main purpose in life was. His motivation was to do things unto the Lord and to do it the best you can.
Outside of work, my dad liked to spend time with the family and his grandkids.
He was really a family man that just really wanted to take care of them and spend time with them, let them know they're loved and appreciated.
You know, he had his church, he had his family. I think everyone was family to Paul.
And my dad loved my mom. I mean, they were married their whole lives. I loved my brother, I knew he loved me. And then, I have 4 kids, which he loved dearly. I spent a lot of time with my kids, which is something that my kids miss.
The best you can do is join together, right? You got to work together closer to get things done. Todd did a lot at that point. To his credit, filled in a lot for his dad, but it took, his brother Eric, myself, and a few others to really fill in the gap. It was not easy to do.
The company loved Paul. I know that, as Paul loved them deeply. And I think they would really want to see this prosper better than what it is now, because they would know that Paul would still be giving his all.
Even though my dad isn't here, the attitude amongst everybody here is still very positive, and something that I think because he's not here, they're trying to make up with his energy and to bring the life that he had. More of us here are trying to bring that to the table because we know it's not here anymore.
Out of a love for Paul and the love for the work that he did, we're going to continue on, and we're going to try our best to fill in his shoes.
Paul's legacy will always live on through myself and the people that he's touched, whether it was personally in his family or professionally in his work.
Obviously, no one can fill anybody's shoes the same way. However, the testament and the legacy of somebody is the influence that they have left when they're no longer here. That really is the importance in the life that someone lives, is what happens when they're no longer here. And because he is no longer here, he has left such an impact, and his influence is in the hearts of everybody that works here. He's still here today. Again, there's 35 people here, and Paul lives through me, he lives through my brother, he lives through every employee of Lindeblad. My dad is here in the way that he lived, in the sense of gratitude, care for people, and that spirit still lives on here at the company.
I would say Paul's biggest attribute that stood out to me was the self-control. He didn't lose his cool. Sometimes, we're working on pianos here, restoration and regulation, and, to have the patience and the self-control to deal with that. That's not easy trying to teach somebody. Paul gave me that ability, the patience and the self-control to do that, to pass down to the junior technicians here.
There seems to be sort of a mindset that's being passed down that, especially with Steinway pianos, everything you do to the piano has to be bespoke to that piano. It's not an assembly line where you could do the same exact thing to every single piano and crank them out in some sort of factory. There's an ideal that you have in your mind that is being passed down through the people that have been working on these pianos for like over 40 years. And that ideal is instilled into us, and so that we know going into any piano, we know what it's asking for to be closer to that place of an ideal.
It's great to work for a family business and to see it actually operate as a family. You know, it's not just everybody operating within their own job, their own box. Everybody collaborated, worked together like a family has to do in order to succeed, really.
I grew up with the family. I called him Uncle Paul. I call Todd's mother Aunt Judy. They're family. They are family, which is why everybody loves working here, and everybody always does whatever they can and more to make sure everything is taken care of. And by that, the customer is taken care of.
Paul started something here, and it's our job to keep it moving and to pass it on to his grandchildren, should they choose to come into the business. That's why I'm here every day. To be part of something that's bigger than just the work we do, but the group effort and having it all come together, different parts, different departments, different people from different parts of the world, we're all come together under one collective goal and push forward, and that's to do the best that we can and to create a world-class product that people enjoy for years and years to come, which was kind of part of the mission.
The relationship with Paul and Todd is very unique. Obviously it's father and son, but the biggest thing is really partners. And Paul really took obviously his son and mentored him on how the customer is always going to be first. And that has really been the forefront of Todd since the beginning. I mean, they've been working together for at least 15 years. And that has always been every single conversation, is how do we make sure that we are meeting what that client wants. And Paul has been showing him through these years.
You got Todd, who's a chip off the old block, all right? It comes through. It comes through Todd and down to us. It's all about the customer. To bring a product that's going to give them happiness. For many, many years, these pianos, once we're done with them, they're going to last a lifetime. And to bring a smile on their face when they see maybe it's their grandmother's piano restored to original condition, that was very important to him. That's what really made the business what it is, a family business that really showed that he cared. And that's how Todd is, and that's what he brings down to us.
The thing about Paul, he dedicated himself to this job, and he always said to me, he always wanted to make the client happy with the job.
With him being the way he was, he attracted good people and hard workers, and it just helped. It helped in every way.
Even he knows I'm doing everything a Steinway, but always he told me, you never stop learning. I said, yeah, I never stop learning.